Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user BetterAd206. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiance I want a say in our wedding? The title gives it away for the most part. I, 27 female, and my fiance, 30 male, are set to be married next year in the spring. And he has been telling me we are going to be doing it his way or the highway. Like, okay? He said that since I was married before, that I don't get a say in our wedding because you've already had one. However, he seems to forget that my last marriage was very much physical and mental abusive and caused me a lot of issues that I will not disclose here, but you get the idea. I had divorced my ex-husband due to his issues and met the true love of my life 3 years ago. We got engaged and yay, we're getting married. But my now fiance keeps telling me that I already got married, so he is going to have a say in everything. From my dress to the color of the napkins. While yes, I know this is special for him and I am more than willing to let him have most of what he wants, I at least want just a little say in things like the colors and especially my dress. Like, yes, I've been married before, and yes, I know he wants this to be his special day as well, but I feel like not having a say in at least my dress will take away from it also being a special day for me. I told him this and said he can have a say over everything if he'd like, as long as I get to pick my own dress, since I will be the one wearing it. And if he would let me have some say in some of the small things, I'd appreciate it because it is our day. He told me that since I've already been married, I'm the a-hole because I'm not thinking about him or his idea. But I do, and I love most of his ideas. I would just like to have one thing to myself, like my dress. He stormed out of the house telling me if he doesn't get to plan and pick everything, we will not get married. What do I do? How do I go about this in a way that makes us both happy? And am I the a-hole for saying I want a little bit of say even if I've been married before him? No, OP, you're most definitely not the a-hole, and in my opinion, this is one huge red flag. What do you mean if I don't get to pick everything, we don't get married? So he's holding the wedding hostage? Does he really want to marry you? Because I'm guessing he kinda doesn't now. What a stupid thing to throw the marriage away for. And I wouldn't put it past him that if you do get married, in the future it'll be, if you don't do what I want, I'll divorce you, and you'll live under threat. This sounds like another form of abuse. If you don't do what I say, I'll leave you. You say he's your fiancé and the love of your life? I say he's an a-hole and you should get away from him as soon as possible. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Six Psychotic says, not the a-hole, but really think about if this is how you want to spend your life. My way or the highway will definitely not only be for the wedding. Nibble Sybil says, you obviously haven't learned a thing from your last marriage. You've immediately jumped into another abusive situation. He sounds like a massive a-hole and you will be one if you marry him. Typically, I'd suggest therapy, but I can't see how this will help. Best to get out now. And OP responds, I'm starting to see this, and yes, it's been pointed out to me over the last few days, so I'm starting to realize that unfortunately. Swish Candid says, this guy is not the love of your life. You traded abuse for abuse. He's holding it over you that you were married before. This will not be the first time that happens. Not the a-hole. You need to fix your guy picker on therapy before you get in another relationship. I'm sure there were red flags before this. And OP responds, my sister has also told me this and has helped me pick up on a lot of his red flags that I missed. She is the one who said I should post here to maybe get more insight. This week in the Regency says, so you've moved from one abusive relationship to another? That's what this looks like from the outside. The idea that you shouldn't have a say in your own wedding because you've been married before is merely an excuse for him to control everything. Take a look at your life. What else is my way or the highway with him? If he's throwing a hissy fit and demanding a breakup because you want to choose your own wedding dress, either he wants to break up and is making you the bad guy, or you should run away and run far and fast. Not the a-hole, at the very least, I'd slow down on the wedding date until this control issue is ironed out. No, actually, I'd just walk away. And Itchy Juice 2528 says, not the a-hole, you don't get married to him. No, he cannot have a say in your dress, and you absolutely should have a say about the cake, colors, food, venue, etc. If he's unwilling to work as a team on this issue, what other issues will have to be his way or the highway? Also, it's traditionally considered bad luck for the groom to see the bride's dress before the wedding. He's got some big feelings about your previous marriage and divorce. You need to attend some premarital counseling sessions to figure out if you two are on the same page about what married life looks like. I'm thinking this guy is giving, I'm the man of the house and we do things my way vibes. OP's edit. My family and his family are both paying for the wedding, and no, I don't need to be married and I'm in therapy. However, I know I will have to maybe book a session or two after this is over. I did go to therapy for my previous relationship. I actually met him during my therapy stage and he was a very kind and warm-hearted man when we first met. This was one of the few things that my sister pointed out to me that I didn't see were bad. I was very blind to his small things due to thinking he was just having a bad day, but I'm starting to realize this is just who he is. I haven't spoken to my therapist about him, but I have spoken to a lot of family and they are also starting to see a pattern with him. I will be going over to my mom's house today to talk with her about it and figure out my next steps. I loved him and wanted a life with him. I wasn't desperate to marry again. We did have a good life and he was very kind. I thought this time was going to be different, but I'm very clearly seeing that it's not. So, after reading a lot of the comments, I agree with pretty much everyone. I already took my ring off and left it at the apartment we share. As I said, I'm going to go to my mother's house and speak with her about my next steps, and I will be talking to him once he's off of work. Yes, I'm aware I missed huge red flags when I thought he was very sweet and kind. When we first met, he was the complete opposite of what my ex was. No, we don't have any children, but I do have one from my ex. But my ex-fiance has been kind and loving to my son and has never done anything to hurt him. No, I'm not dumb or stupid. Yes, I am aware I missed some huge things I should have noticed in the beginning with his off days. I'm aware I should have known from those days that he was acting the same way, just in different ways, to my ex. I'm more aware now. I will talk to him when he's off work, and if I'm able to update, I will. Thank you everyone for the feedback and opening up my eyes a little bit more. The community was able to give OP a little bit of a shake and OP saw the light. She took off the ring and is going to her mom's place. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I've had quite a few people ask me for an update, so here it goes, I suppose. Myself, 27 female, and my ex-fiance, 30 male, we'll call him Chris for time-saving purposes. So much has happened in the last few hours and I'm still trying to process it all. Starting with after I left the apartment. Chris was at work. I knew he would be off around 3, so I mentally prepared for the fallout. As I just about expected, my phone instantly started blowing up with texts and messages from Chris and his family asking me why I left the apartment and my ring. I politely told him I would like to talk. However, he would need to meet me at my mother's house so that I can make sure nothing bad happened. After an hour, Chris is at my mom's house, where my mom and dad were standing outside and my sister came to grab me and let me know he was there. I told him how I felt and I couldn't continue the relationship because I've gotten plenty of advice from others that this is not a good relationship to be in and I will not be in another relationship with myself being miserable. This didn't go over well and he immediately started yelling and saying a lot of mean things, showing more red flags that I would have missed. Then got really angry and said, "It's a good thing I have someone else anyway," which made me laugh. And not a sad laugh or a funny, just a "I knew it" laugh. He then proceeded to try to backtrack and say something about not meaning it. I didn't listen and just crossed my arms telling him to leave. He didn't. He continued to yell and my dad ended up having to make him leave. As he left, he said I was a bunch of mean things I don't want to repeat. However, some things that happened after. I got the dreaded, "Hey girly" text message from a close friend of mine, which yes, we all saw coming. Trust me, I know. To make things worse, this friend of mine is a man. Yes, I know a lot of the comments and messages I got made it clear that this man is indeed not straight. I didn't want to believe it, but I sat there and realized a lot of small things from his speech to how sometimes it felt like he didn't want to be intimate with me. I realized I'm so blind and didn't see all the big flashing signs in my face. I went through our whole relationship and all of the signs for the red flags and homosexuality were there. I have nothing against gay people at all. I just wish this went a different way. I got a lot of proof and I wasn't even hurt. I was more relieved, being so honest. I knew I didn't want to message him anymore, but that little part of me needed closure. So I messaged him all the proof and said that I very clearly needed out, and he made that known with his attitude and now cheating. He then blocked me, which, cool, is fine. However, I got a call from his mother asking me to forgive him, and he didn't know what he was doing. So, a little context. My family and I aren't rich, but we are well off. His mother proceeded to go on a whole rampage of telling me how he needed this, and I can't do this to her little boy. So I messaged the only person I can trust in that family, his brother, 43, who we'll call Charles. His brother cut off his entire family a while back, and I was told it was because he didn't love them or care for their problems. We talked for about 30 minutes and he told me everything. Basically, Chris needed a good family to help his family, and he found me through a mutual friend that told him I was well off. I was a meal ticket for him. Again, we aren't rich, and according to Charles, his family had to take out loans to pay for their part in our wedding, but made it seem like they were fine and well off. No, I didn't know any of this. Yes, I'm aware this is wild. Trust me, I'm still processing. His mother proceeded to text me many messages until I blocked her. I then blocked his whole family. I let my mother know what happened and what Charles told me, and she was fuming. She then called Chris's mother and blew up. I didn't know my mother could say such things to another human being. Honestly, I wish none of this was true, but I'm glad I got the advice I needed. I appreciate all of you for listening to my rant and gave me tips. I will be staying single for a while, and I have already scheduled 3 sessions with my therapist next month. I'm glad I didn't marry this man. Thank you, everyone. Well, OP, this was a whole big messy drama, but the only good thing that's happening here is that you are out. So now you just need to focus on getting over this fiasco and move forward with your life. So on that note, OP, here's wishing you the best. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Throwaway No. Am I the a-hole for the way I reacted when a former friend tried to touch my hair? So yesterday, I was doing last-minute shopping and I saw a former friend. She and her husband came to greet me, and the first thing she noticed was my hair. Now, I need to preface this. I'm a black woman and she's white. I haven't spoken to her since 2014. The last time she saw me, when we were both in college, and we also went to high school together. I had my hair straightened with a relaxer. I've been natural for 2 years. She goes, "Hey, OP," and then she reached over and tried to touch my hair. I leaned back quickly and was like, no, we don't do that. And then I tried to redirect by asking her how she's doing. When she saw me leaning back, she tried to reach for my hair again. Again, I leaned away, and this time I took a step back and said, "Please don't touch my hair," firm and to the point. This girl literally attempted yet again before I had to swat her hand away. I didn't make contact with her hand, don't worry. And then she was like, "Why won't you let me touch your hair? It looks so soft." And then tried to touch my hair again. I felt so disrespected that I just blew up. I said, "Bitch, stop trying to touch my damn hair. If you want to say hi, then say hi. Other than that, stop trying to touch me." She got upset and told me I was being mean and didn't know how to take a joke, and then left. Her husband told me I could have just went along with it, and I told him, "Well, would you like it if people wanted to touch your penis all the time?" He got mad and left. A few shoppers saw the whole exchange, and we all agreed that she was acting weird, so I felt justified. I finished shopping and went home to vent to my husband, and he thought the whole thing was funny and said maybe I could have handled that better. I've slept on it and keep replaying the interaction in my mind, and maybe he is right. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. It's your hair. If you don't want people to touch it, then yeah, they don't get to. I do have to say that I kind of think your analogy is a bit off. Touching somebody's penis without consent is sexual assault. Now, touching your hair without consent is also wrong, but I think the scale's a bit off there. Still, you do have a point. People shouldn't go around touching other people just cuz, regardless if it's hair or hands or feet or whatever it is. So no, OP, I don't think you're the a-hole. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's check out the community comments. Femme says, not the a-hole. Sometimes we mess up the first time and do something unconsciously without really thinking it through. But to go back for a fourth time after getting rejected, she's not just tone deaf, she's flagrant. Delicious Brick 339 says, not the a-hole. Anyone who says, take a joke, just doesn't want to take accountability and apologize like an adult. She definitely thinks she can do whatever she wants. Glad you stuck up for yourself. Never let someone cross boundaries that you clearly put up. 28 Nikki says, not the a-hole at all. You made it incredibly clear that you did not want her to touch you or your hair, and she continued to try to disrespect that. She's the a-hole. Here's the thing. We white women know better. She absolutely knows that it's disrespectful. I'm sorry that you had to deal with this and the people around the whole situation. You didn't overreact, and you're absolutely not the a-hole. And OK Manufacturer 767 says, not the a-hole. People need to stop touching people's hair. 4 times? Jeez. Sorry your husband is okay with people touching you without consent and thinks you should have just stood there and let her. Edit. No, there was no need to handle it better. You were polite 3 times. Well, the community agrees OP is not the a-hole. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Thank you all. I've read all of your comments and I wanted to answer a few questions that I've seen pop up here and there, both in this thread and my DMs, and I wanted to give you all an update. Some of you were appalled about my husband's reaction. He didn't laugh at me like, haha, this funny thing happened to you, but more like, ha, how strange, if that makes sense. I also had so many guys DM me saying that touching someone's penis is not the equivalent of touching someone's hair without permission, and that's the point. You shouldn't touch someone's genitals or any part of their body without consent, be it hair or a foot or a butt. A shoulder tap is acceptable when you need to get someone's attention. I've had people DM me and ask me why she's a former friend. When we started college, she wanted to party because she was paying out of pocket. I had scholarships. She met her husband there and I met mine, and that was that. I learned that I liked to study rather than drink. I went to therapy for the last time until next year, and I explained all of this to my therapist. We both came to the conclusion that maybe I was second-guessing my reaction because I've never blown up like that in public before. Maybe be a phone call or text, but nothing like this. She told me maybe I should find her on social media and not apologize, but maybe tell her why her actions caused me to react the way I did. I found her and she'd already DM'd me and apologized for her behavior. Apparently, she was high off of a few edibles. I accepted her apology and left it at that. Again, thank you all. Smiley face. Well, OP, again, you weren't the a-hole, you were just setting very clear boundaries, and now everything is cleared up. So here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge, and it's by user Premium Oxygen. My ex-girlfriend got pissy I wouldn't pay her way, so I made sure she covered everything she owed. My ex-girlfriend and I split up a while ago and genuinely wanted to be friends. It wasn't a messy breakup or anything, it was just distance that ruined it. We had the amazing idea of taking a trip together. In my right mind, I'd have been against this, but I'd also just started some new meds which stopped me thinking straight, and I was just focused on how much I enjoyed it when we traveled together. She booked the hotels as we went and we'd agreed to split the cost. I also wound up paying for pretty much everything there. Food, admissions, transport, etc. as it was easier just doing it that way when on the move. Some such admissions were the equivalent of around £50 or 67 US dollars and only accepted cash. She didn't have enough physical on her. After the trip, which wasn't great to be honest, the first thing she did was text me reminding me that I owed her for the hotels, which was before I'd even got on my flight back. I said, no problem, I'm going to work out what I owe with the admissions off, etc. Her response, you're not going to pay because I don't owe you anymore? Haha, that's pretty funny. Typically, I don't mind buying things for people at all and wasn't even going to mention the food and drinks, etc., as I generally do better than she does, but that comment was just so unnecessarily bitchy. I went through my expenses for the trip and got the exact amounts of everything I'd spent on her, copied the receipts, etc., and then went back and said, "That's exactly right. We aren't in a relationship after all. Turns out I've spent the cost of the hotels and then a little more, so I think we're about even." What I said was true, and I didn't send her a penny more. She was just expecting me to pay for everything, as that's how we were when together. She hasn't spoken to me since, and I'm fine with that. Opie's edit, just to clarify something here. People are commenting like she's some gold digger and I was financing her whole life when we were together. We were just two people in a regular relationship and I treat her to things now and then like any decent partner would. Opie, that